The gospel says that Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs he was performing on the sick. So people witnessed what he was doing. A man was sick. Jesus lays hands on him and he becomes well. And so people see what he's doing and they're attracted. They want to know better. They want to hear more of this Jesus. And so they're following him. Also, each one of us are here because in one way or another, we've also been attracted. Maybe we've seen what he's done in the life of someone else, healing a sick. But we're here because somehow we're attracted that Jesus is someone that we want to know better. And so we also are following him. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. He sat down to speak with them. He sat down to teach them. He sat down because he wanted to be with them. And so this is exactly what's happening this morning. Jesus is speaking to us. Through the liturgy of the word, Jesus is teaching. Jesus also wants to spend time with us. And it says that the Jewish feast of Passover was near. And so it's related to the Eucharist. The Passover was where God acted, God intervened, God pulled the people out of slavery, brought them to the promised land. He conquered their enemies. This is what they were celebrating in the Last Supper. And so all of this is connected with the Eucharist, with this Eucharist. And so this word is fulfilled with us today. Jesus raised his eyes and saw that a large crowd was coming to him. He said to Philip, "Where can we buy enough food for them to eat?" Philip, we can tell from his answer, he says, 200 days' wages worth of food would not be enough for each of them to have a little. We don't have the beginnings. It's too much. The hunger's too much. We don't have enough food. We don't have nearly enough money even to buy the food. Why do you even ask me the question? I don't even have food for myself. And you're asking me to somehow provide food for the crowd? But it's an immense crowd. The hunger is immense. We have very little. Andrew says, there's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good are these for so many? The little that we have, it maybe can feed a little bit, 20 people. But we don't have enough. We don't have near enough. Why are you even asking me the question? Because this same question comes to us this morning. Because Jesus Christ sees the hunger of the crowd. He sees what's happening in Boulder. He sees the suffering. He sees the spiritual hunger. It's what he's focused on. It's what he's preoccupied with. It's what he notices. Maybe the disciples didn't even see, didn't even notice. But Jesus sees it. He's concerned about the hunger. And so there's an immense hunger. People have an immense hunger and they don't have the food. A family constantly arguing. Some young person contemplating right now suicide. Someone else addicted to drugs. And Jesus asks us this morning, how are we going to feed them? Where are we going to get food to feed them? We can say the same. Why are you asking me? I don't have anything. But what are you talking about? The crowd is immense. There's no way. There's no way we can feed that crowd. It's too much. But it's interesting because the gospel says that when Jesus asked Philip, where can we buy enough food for them to eat? He said this to test him because he himself knew what he was going to do. Jesus knew. It's done. He had it all planned out. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He knows perfectly well that he's going to feed that crowd because he's capable. He was asking the question to see how was the response. And so it's the same for us. He's got to figure it out. He knows what he's going to do. He knows how he's going to do it. But he's asking us the question. And the people sit down, the people recline, and it says that Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed them to those who are reclining. And that's exactly what happens in the Eucharist. Jesus Christ will take the bread. Jesus Christ will give thanks. And Jesus Christ will distribute them to us. What is it that he's giving us? What is it that he's distributing to us? He's distributing himself. He's distributing his Spirit. He's distributing God himself. And in the parallel Gospels, the disciples received what Jesus gave them, and that's what they distributed. And as they were passing it out, as they were giving it out, there was more. They gave it to one person, there was enough to give to someone else, and there was enough to give to someone else, and there was an abundance. There were leftovers. And so it is. Jesus is giving us the food. Jesus is giving us the food that satisfies. Jesus Christ is giving us the food that will satisfy their hunger. And he's giving it to us and asking us to distribute it. And if we give the little that we have, we'll see, wait, I have some for this person too. I have some for that person, and then I have more, and then we'll have more than enough. There'll be leftovers. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they said, "This truly is a prophet, the one who is to come into the world." When they received the bread from the disciples, they recognized Jesus is the Savior. He is the Messiah. And so, that's also what God is doing. When people receive the food, that does satisfy. Because the only thing that will satisfy their hunger is God himself. And when they receive this food, when they receive this bread that satisfies, they'll recognize that Jesus is the Savior, that Jesus is the Messiah, that he is the one that God sent into the world. They're going to make Jesus king, and so he withdrew to the mountain alone. So also, if we just see him as something for this world, then he withdraws. And so now we pass to the Eucharist, where the same Jesus is here. The same Jesus will take bread. He will bless and give to us because he sees the hunger. He sees the immense hunger of the crowd. But what he's giving us will satisfy the crowd. And so let us enter with faith. Let's receive what he's giving us. And trusting that he's the one that's sending us. He's the one that's blessing what we've received. That what he's given to us, he intends for other people. Because he sees their hunger and he's determined to feed them. Because he loves them. And so let us welcome, let us receive this bread that comes from heaven. And we'll see that it'll feed us, the crowd, and there'll be leftovers.